It is a big month for indie, so let's just dive right into the releases coming out in April 2023. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is the indie releases of 2023. What is coming your way on the indie scene this month? As always, these lists do not come from me. They come from Rob J. Hayes and also Matthew over at Epic Indie. Links will be down below if you do want to submit your book. These come out each and every month, and you can add them to the calendar if you are an indie author looking to get a shout out here on the channel. And also they go public every month with those lists, and they are awesome. I find so many good books on those lists. Make sure you go ahead and check them out. Before we jump into the releases this month, make sure you're checking the description box down below for links to my social media and Discord should you want to come along for the ride. Alright, we've got a lot of releases to get through, so let's just jump right in. Up on April 1st, we have the Rascor Plains, The Immortal Great Souls, book number 2 by Phil Tucker. This is the follow-up to Bastion, which came out a couple of years ago, and once again, this cover is absolutely gorgeous. I have not read Bastion. I know my friend Mark Timoney really wants me to read it at some point in the near future, and I said perhaps in 2023, but he's just read this one and said it was awesome. He's had a really good time, and he had got a book hangover from it. So this one is progression fantasy. If you're into that sort of thing, it comes highly recommended from someone who is hard to please. So go ahead and check that one on out. Another release on April 1st was the System Apocolypse short story anthology. This is by various authors and some new voices to the System Apocolypse world. This is by Tao Wong, the initial Systems Apocolypse, and then there was also Systems Apocolypse Australia, which was done by Katie Hanna as well as Tao Wong, and I've listened to the first one of Australia, but this is a book of short stories from various authors within that world. It says, with over 10 stories from exciting new voices and a few veterans of the universe, the second anthology highlights the lives and struggles of humanity's best and worst after the system's advent. So if you like lit RPGs, if you like the System Apocolypse, this may be one to check out. Moving on to April 2nd, and my pick of covers from this entire list is Sul, From Gold to Iron and Rust. This is the Sulai book 1 by Jackie Davis and Katie Garrison. This says, a king destined to rule, a priest determined to protect his land, a demon out to create chaos, a princess with her eyes on the throne. When a demon murders the regent, young King Elms leaves his island palace and sails north to conquer a frozen wilderness rich in resources his people have squandered, and of course, hunt down the demon. Elms has no doubt he'll prevail. After all, he is great, like his ancestors. But the land is already home to half-wild barbarians led by an immortal priest who are used to weather more savage than any warrior. With a court losing confidence and a wife set on keeping the crown no matter whose head it sits on, the decisions at home prove the greater danger. With mounting threats on all sides, Elms wins his empire, but his arrogance leaves him cursed and trapped in the north. Without his armies, his magic, or even his own name, Elms must face his selfishness and irresponsibility to preserve what truly matters, his young son's life. That sounds awesome. This cover has definitely got me, and it is on my radar. Moving on to April the 4th, we have the Ruptured Sky. This is Gardens of War and Wasteland book 1 by Jessica A. McMinn. I do have a full review for this one, this new voice in grimdark fantasy that I really enjoyed. Very briefly, it says, a dead goddess, a broken sky, and a world wasted by magic. Princess Amakahalia wants one thing in life: control over her own fate. I'll link my full review up in the cards. Then on the 4th of April, we have The Captain, The Last Horizon, book 1 by Will White. This is sci fantasy. I know a lot of people are highly anticipating Will White's new entry into the sci fantasy world. If you were fans of Cradle, you probably already know about this one and have it on your radar. To survive in this galaxy, you need a wand in one hand and a gun in the other. What a tagline. Jumping ahead to April 10th, we have Choice of the Traveller Book 1 by Tony Binns, and this is epic fantasy. A war between two worlds, a destiny she can't escape. When Beatha transferred to her best friend's university to study, life is looking hopeful. Her dream to open up her own cafe could finally become a reality, and all she has to do is study, enjoy nights out, and try not to make her crush on the tasty and intense self-defense trainer, Carter, too obvious. Oh brother, Carter. But her world is shattered when demons invade. As powers Beatha didn't know she had begin to emerge, hopes of stopping the invasion fall to her, and Carter is tasked with keeping her alive. Beatha has no fighting ability. No matter how hard she tries, everyone she knows is dying. Carter and her other friends surrounding her, will she be able to unlock the truth of her magic in time, or will a cloak of darkness and despair shroud the land and destroy everything she loves? There's a few tropes in there that I personally don't love, but I know will excite a few people, so I hope people give this one a go and pick it on up. Then on April the 14th, we have Gates of Hope. This is the Aurelian Gates 1 by J.E. Hannaford, and this is epic fantasy. I've heard some early reviews from the art copies of this one going out, and they have been quite positive. They say there's some twists on some fantasy tropes that they've really appreciated, and I do have this author on my radar for the first series that they wrote, so I've got the Skin and the Pact on my radar, but I have pre-ordered this one just because I have a feeling this is going to be an author that really does work for me. It says, the Watcher shattered the gates, now hope must arise from the shards. Darin and Serlin enter the Black Palace of the Sadal at a time when monstrous Edgelands creatures return to the skies over Caldera. After exhibiting magical traits thought lost, Darin is drawn into a secret society charged with keeping the Watcher's secrets. Now he must balance learning to control his magic, caring for Star, his new companion, and finding a way to sustain the Howler's power for long enough to protect Caldera from the predatory creatures of the Edgelands. Before she arrived at the Black Palace, Surin broke the ancient rules of the Sodal to save the life of the person she loves the most. Her search for a cure delves deeper under the mountain. Is there any price she won't pay? On the outer moon of Tabin, Elise's newly awakened magic will endanger her home and family. Now she must race to find help for those she leaves behind as she escapes those who want her and all those like her dead. One wrong decision by any of them could return legends to life and end 500 cycles of peace. Will they find the solutions they need in time? It sounds like a pretty cool adventure. I'm looking forward to getting to this one at some point after I read The Skin and the Pact by this author. Moving on to April 15th, we have the Captain Battle Brothers Book 2 by Casey Hollingshed. This is grimdark / sword and sorcery. Now, the blurb I thought could be a little bit spoilery, so I'm just going to take a quote from the blurb. You wish to talk rumours. Where would I even begin? I have heard of direwolves, lindworms, dragons, something I can't pronounce, web-necked, and a wider ganger at the hip of a black-clad cultist. Hells, I once received a tale that the trees themselves came alive and skewered men dead with branches shaped like spears. Richter, please. The laity love to talk about all the ghouls and the ghosts these woods hold, but until you see it with your own eyes. ... That's pretty intriguing, I will say, but I won't go too much into that as it is a book 2. Then on April 17th, we have No Port in a Storm. This is Legends and Legacies, not to be confused with Legends and Lattes, by Cal Black. This is historical fantasy, Gaslamp and Western. Cal Black is someone who is on my radar to read at some point. I have heard nothing but good things about book 1, and I don't want to give away too much of book 2. I really enjoy the artwork on these covers. I'll put book 1 on this side as well if you wanted to have a look at both of them, but I won't go too much into the blurb because I don't want to give anything away. On April 18th, we have the Inversion Solution. This is the Alchemancr book 3 by Scott Marlowe in the epic fantasy realm. The city of Brighton is in chaos. Infernal science inverted half the population. The other half fights for survival. The Alchemancr series continues. Again, book 3, won't go too much into it. Then on April 20th, we have our first YA entry into the list, and it does say this is a clean YA anthology for maybe the parents out there who are looking to get their kids into fantasy, or their kids are interested in fantasy. This may be one to go down. This is Twice Upon a Name, Tales of Mix-Ups and Mistaken Identities by various authors, and the cover's up here. Double the Name and Double the Magic, Mystery and Mayhem. If you're looking to get your kids into fantasy, maybe give this one a go. I quite like the cover, personally. On April 21st, we have Spring Bright. This is Season War Book 3, and this is by Olena Nikitin. This is epic fantasy, sword and sorcery, with a bit of romance chucked in there. I'm intrigued by the cover. I'm not really sure what's happening, if that's a dragon in the background or not. If someone knows, please let me know. Chaos and the wicked soul know no rest, an old folks proverb. Inna has no time to enjoy domestic life with Ma. As soon as life settles down after the Winter War, King Regan calls his royal witch to give her a new task. I won't go too much more into that. It's a book 3. There's a lot of series continuations in the list this month. On April 24th, we have Songborn Gates. This is the Deliberer Chronicles book 2. First line of this blurb says, "In these magic-starved lands, is the arrival of enigmatic outsiders a portent of salvation or disaster?" Is it? You'll know if you read this series. Then on April 25th, we have Spire Climbers. This is Titan Hoppers book 2 by the man himself that creates these lists, Rob J. Hayes. The covers on these are also stunning. Now, selfishly, I do want to read Titan Hoppers. I have a copy of it. I just haven't read it yet, so I'm not going to read too much into the blurb just in case there is spoilers, but these are what the covers look like, and book 1 came out last year, I believe in June or July, so Rob is doing his usual and writing 45 books a year and popping out book 2 this month. This is a progression / cultivation sci-fantasy series. Also on April 25th, we have an anticipated release for a lot of my friends here in the indie community, and that is The Legacy of Brick and Bone by Crystal Matar. This is the Tainted Dominion book number 2, and it is Gaslamp romance / fantasy. Now, again, selfishly, I do want to read Legacy of the Brightwatch. This is one of my very good friends that I've found since starting a BookTube channel's favorite book of 2022. And I am very incredulous when I go into something that says there's romance as a plot point, but I have been told and implored to give Legacy of the Brightwatch a go. So I will be reading book 1 in August this year on my drive to Perth. That is the audiobook pick for that drive, so I'm not going to read too much into the blurb here, but just know if you are anticipating this one, you don't have to wait too much longer. Following that up on April 28th is a book that I am anticipating now, but I am reading the first book at current, so again, I'm not going to go too much into the blurb because I don't want to give spoilers away, and also if you haven't read book 1, I really recommend it, but at this point, no one is shocked that I'm going to spruik this author, and that is The Shadow Gate by L.L. McRae, the Dragon Spirits book number 2. I'm having such a good time with book 1, and I cannot wait. I even thought maybe about putting my TBR in the bin and picking up book 2 straight away, but I will refrain and probably read it later in the year because the audiobook narrator is excellent, and I may have found my favorite male audiobook narrator from listening to The Iron Crown, which is book 1. The last one we have on this list for April of 2023 is Elder Epoch. This is Gunmetal Gods book 3 by Zamil Akhtar, and this is straight up grimdark with a Middle Eastern vibe. I read Gunmetal Gods last year. There was some things in it that didn't really work for me personally, so I won't be continuing on with the series, but I know a lot of people loved it. What I will say about Gunmetal Gods is it feels awesome. The book itself and the feel of it, it is different, it is dark, the monsters were terrifying, and if you like those sort of things, you're going to want to pick up this series. I would recommend it to those people. Those are the books we have on the list this month for indie releases in April 2023. Let me know what you're thinking of picking up. What is your favorite cover from this list? Mine is definitely Soul, and I can't wait to get to it before I turn 50, hopefully. Alright, that's it for the video. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.